I'm not good at learning schools. I failed for 3 times for entering university. In my life, I never thought I would be able to speak here. I never even brave enough to say I want to be a student of Moscow University. About the questions that I have a lot of terrible experience, made a lot of mistakes when I was young and child. I think if you succeed, every mistake becomes legendary. If you fail, that's just garbage. I think everybody has great stories. Everybody had a lot of mistakes. Everybody have a lot of problems. But very few people listen to you. One day when you become successful, people listen to you, say, wow, you are great. I'm not that great. And I think there's one thing I learned is that why you should have a chance to be successful. So the thing I learned is that don't give up. My opportunity has not come yet. When everybody complains, that is the opportunity. I never thought I could be today. After 18 years, Alibaba become today's size. Not because I'm smart. I don't think I'm a smart person. But I work with a lot of smart people. And I think it's not easy to be successful quickly. Every time, everything we do, we prepare for 10 years. I know I'm not smart. If we want to be successful, we have to win 10 years later. If we want to be successful, we have to work with smart people. If we want to be successful, we should make a lot of mistakes and never give up. A lot of people, they make mistakes, they have a problem, they give up. We never give up. We learn from mistakes. I learn a lot from those people who made mistakes. I learn a lot from my mistakes. So this is this is my life attitude. We made stupid decisions almost every day. Nobody knows. We thought it's smart, but finally proved stupid. But we learn, we do again. We learn, we do again. That's the way. That's the life attitude. Alibaba started from no money, no technology, no people. In my apartment, 18 people decide that we want to use internet technology to help small business. After 18 years, we grow from 18 people to today close to 60,000 people. It is really not easy, but we survived. Today, we are one of the biggest internet companies in the world. I think we are lucky. We made so many mistakes, but we still survive. How can you continue to be lucky? That is the question keep on asking me. I think if you want to continue to be lucky, you have to give your luck to the others. Our company today is big, but compared to yesterday, it was big. But compared to tomorrow, it is still a tiny company. But AliExpress is not our main purpose of doing business in Russia. We do not want to be a Russian e-commerce company. We are not e-commerce company. We help other companies become e-commerce. We hope what we want to do in Russia, we want to help in Russia to build up the logistics system. Russia is so big, deliver things so difficult. Now we reduced from 45 days to 15 days. But that is not enough. Russia should have a modern logistics system. This is your opportunity, young people, because Russia logistics is terrible, and you have the chance. If logistics is good, we have no chance. In Russia, we should build up a good payment system, a modern payment system that every young people can receive money, pay money at the lowest cost. Every young people should be able to reach financial assistance. That we invested 15 billion US dollars on building up a lab to solve the problem for future, solve the problem for the world economy and social science. China, Russian young people, young scientists working together, solve problem for future. This is something we want to do in Russia. And this is something we want to do together with Moscow University. With your talents here, we have technology, we have data, we have consumers, we have a little bit of money, and you have talents. We work together, we can do something really big. In this way, we can make Alibaba the company of the century.
I would like to hear your thoughts on technology. Today, many people are wary of it, and especially about the impact of artificial intelligence on jobs and society. What are your thoughts on this?
Don't worry about the future. All right, don't worry about technology. Let me tell you one thing. When you worry about the future, that is because you are lack of confidence. You lack of imagination. I may not have the solution for future, but there is a solution for future. We don't have the solution for future, but our young people have the solution for future. Let me tell you, future is the opportunity for everybody. Especially the opportunity for young people, because we have nothing to lose. Right? This is what I tell myself 18 years ago. 18 years ago, we did not have money, so we have no money to lose. We don't have technology, we have no technology to lose. I think, don't worry about the future. Prepare for the future. Make your own future. Cloud computing, big data, artificial intelligence, they are new to anybody. And young people are the solutions for tomorrow. Young people are the solutions for all the worries. Nothing is easy. Nothing is free. If you want to be successful, you have to pay the price. Nothing is free. Nothing is easy. Easy means you have to think different. You have to do different. Today is very tough. Tomorrow is more tougher. The day after tomorrow is beautiful. But most people die tomorrow evening. You have to work very hard.
Thank you, Jack, for all these stories, for all these answers. And now I will turn to the audience, and you will have an ability and time to ask your own questions. And I'll appreciate if you formulate them on English, but if you have some problems, we have someone who can repeat, and we will help you.
The confidence is not... The best way to do it is that find a good team. Find the people that share the same vision, same dreams. Work with them. Whether the market has a chance or not, customers tell you. Your colleagues tell you. So, nobody is the expert of future. Most of the experts are yesterday. So the confidence is from the customers. Confidence is from your team. And you have to do little by little. This is the challenge I got. Year 2001, 2002. People came to me and say, when we go for raising money, people ask, how can you be successful? No internet in China enough, no logistic, no credit card, no money, no talents. How can you be successful? Because everybody has no money. That's the opportunity for entrepreneurs. Think creative. Every business starts from tiny business. So let me tell you, 15 years ago, China logistics system was so bad. China Post, same speed like Russia today. You say, I want to build up a whole logistic for whole Russia. You don't have a chance. Nobody will give you money. Because everybody working for same cities, when you connect, it's going to be big. This is my advice. Russia has chance. You can learn a lot from Alibaba experience. I think Russia economy should be focused on more private business, small business. It's a huge opportunity. But don't wait for the monopoly will do it. Don't wait for the SOE. Don't wait for the logistic ready. Don't wait for the bank ready. You should do before they are ready. If everything's ready, why they need you? It's not about language. It's about the culture. When you learn the other language, you start to understand the other culture. You start to appreciate, respect the other culture. I learned my English by myself when I was a child. I never got 1 day English training class outside China. But I think I understand Western culture much more better than those Chinese students study outside. Because I'm not learning language, I'm learning culture. When you respect the other culture, when you appreciate the other culture, it's easy to make friends. If you don't like the other culture, you will never make friends. If you don't have friends, how can you do business?
Hi, in this first part of the test, I would like to know you better, so I'll be asking you some questions about yourself. First of all, let's talk about eating. Do you eat out a lot?
Yeah, I do. I'm currently working for a startup company, and the job actually requires a lot of time and effort from me. I start my work at 7 or 8 in the morning and then finish at 8 in the evening. So I don't really have time to cook for myself.
Do you eat healthy food?
I want to, but my condition doesn't really allow me to do so, because I usually stuck in meetings during lunchtime, and I have late night meetings as well. So I usually find a restaurant outside, which I think in the long term is not really good for my health.
Do you prefer eating at home or at a restaurant?
If I have someone to cook for me at home, then I would go for that. Currently, I don't have that kind of luxury, so I will only stick with Grab food or Now.
Now let's move on to talk about trust. Who do you trust the most?
I would say I trust my parents the most, because they are extremely supportive to whatever decision I made. I used to go abroad to study bachelor degree, and then now I decided to go abroad again for my master degree, and my parents are 100% supportive.
Have you ever lost trust in anybody?
Yeah, actually, I lost my trust several times at work when I delegate my responsibility to some of my teammates. They promised to complete it within a time frame, but then they didn't. So next time, I wouldn't really call them for help.
Do you trust artificial intelligence?
Yes, because I am currently working in a healthcare company, a tech-based healthcare company, so they use technology to support doctors with their diagnosis and treatment. And artificial intelligence would be the future of mankind.
Thank you. Let's move on to talk about patience. Are you a patient person?
I would say 50-50. My parents and other people say that I'm extremely patient, but to me, in some circumstances, like when I'm studying French, I usually lose patience because it's really hard to keep up with the words gender between masculine and feminine, and I usually messed up. So I quit learning French after 6 months.
Do most Vietnamese people have patience?
Yeah, I think so. I think up to 70 or 80% of Vietnamese have patience, especially those living in foreign countries. They have jobs like nursing, nails, and like manual work. So if they don't have patience, they would quit right away and just go back home.
When do you need patience the most?
Well, I think when I'm up to a new challenge. For my case, it's gonna be studying in Berlin without any knowledge of German language. So I have to take, I have to be 120% patient with a new language, with a new city, new friends, new way of living.
Let's move on to part 2 of the test. I would like you to describe a time you received a call from someone you don't know.
I actually received a scam call from a lady. I think the time was about 6 months ago when I was working in my office. The lady told me that I was qualified for her company's loyal customer program, and the price included, I think, 2 MAC lipsticks, 1 Daniel Wellington watch, and a package of Korean facial masks. And the total value of the price was about 3 million, but I only have to pay the shipping fee of 300,000 Vietnam dong. I actually read a lot of that on Facebook. The victims pay the amount of money required for shipping, 300,000, 400, something like that. And all they receive actually was fake products, and they can barely use them. So I actually told the lady that I'm not qualified. I haven't heard of the company's name, or I haven't used any of the company's service or products. So I'm pretty sure that there's some mistakes. That lady still insisted me on taking the gifts. So after several minutes, I started to get angry. I said no out loud, and I actually hung up on her. Well, after I told some of my friends about that, they actually told me I was rude to her for hanging up without any reason. But I'm just protecting myself from like frauds and stuff, because if I actually accept the gift, I will lose like data of my address, my phone number. Well, actually get my phone number already, my address, and maybe some other stuff.
Now let's move on to part 3 of the test. In this part, I'll be asking you some general questions related to part 2. So first of all, let's talk about buying. Why do people buy things that are not necessary?
As a person working in marketing, I think it's a trick from companies, like especially luxury company. They make that person feel special and feel like respected. Like if you buy an iPhone, like iPhone 11, iPhone 10, like right away after they are being released, then you are wealthy, you are well respected in a society. I think that's what marketers from luxury brands like, I would say iPhone is one of them, like to trick their customers.
What should parents do when their children ask for things their friends have?
Well, it depends on things. Like if it's something that is really beneficial to their study or to their, I would say, mentally development, then as a parent, I would definitely save money to buy for my kids. But if just a new phone, a new laptop, like unnecessary things, then I wouldn't, consider it as a must.
And what things do young people like to buy?
Well, I think nowadays young people, especially teenagers, like to buy expensive or luxury items just to show up their wealth and family, like financial conditions.
Now let's talk about customer service. How important is customer service for you?
To me, customer service takes up to 70% of my decision-making process. If a company provides exceptionally great customer service, it means that the products or services are actually high-end and they actually worth the money.
What can companies do to improve their customer service?
I've been working in operations for quite some time, and it's actually a question that many companies are currently asking themselves. So to me, companies should be investing more on employees' training to enhance professionalism.
Why do you think employees sometimes don't provide good customer service?
I think there are several reasons behind that fact. First of all, it's a lack of human resources. So if a customer service department only have around like 5 people and they have to handle like 100 inquiries a day, then it's actually they cannot actually answer all of them on time, and somehow that it decrease the level of satisfaction from customers, and also the financial delegation to that department as well. Some companies actually like to invest on sales, marketing, and they usually leave out customer service.
So in this first part of the test, I would like to ask you some questions about yourself. So first of all, let's talk about morning routines. So what is your morning routine?
My morning routine? Well, class started really early, like 7 in the morning, so I don't get that much time to spend for myself in the morning, so I have to wake up at really early at 6, and then I do all of the brushing teeth and taking a quick shower. I eat breakfast and then hop on the motorbike of my dad and I go to school. That's it.
Is breakfast important in your opinion?
Well, in the past I would actually skip breakfast because I didn't think that it was very important, but recently I suffer from a really severe stomachache, and now I start to take breakfast more seriously. Yeah, and that's it.
Do you like to get up early in the morning?
Well, calling myself not a morning person is an understatement. I cannot tell you how much I detest waking up in the morning. I always, whenever I wake up early in the morning, I always ask myself, why do I need to wake up? And then I was like, oh yeah, school.
Now let's move on to talk about your hometown. So, where are you from?
Well, I am from Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City. To be more specific, I live in the D5 area, which is like the Chinatown of the city.
And what do you like the most about your hometown?
Well, the thing that I enjoy the most about my hometown is the hospitality of the people. I feel like people can be very welcoming, and people always treat you like you're not a stranger to them, like a family. And whenever you need help, people will be there for you. Yeah, and that's it.
Do you think you'll continue living here for a long time?
Well, in the past, I actually have considered living somewhere else because I feel like, the environment is deteriorating. But then now I start to think about it more seriously, and I feel like even though, that is a big problem for the city, but I also feel like I live for the unique vibe of Ho Chi Minh City and also for the hospitable people. And I feel like I'm gonna stick to the city for a really long time in the future.
Right, thank you. Now let's talk about sky. How often do you look at the sky?
Well, that's a very unusual question. I guess that I look at the sky every single day, but mainly because I need to predict the weather because, living in Ho Chi Minh City, the weather can be very unpredictable, and I want to know whether I need to bring an umbrella or not.
Do you prefer the sky in the morning or the sky at night?
Well, to be honest, the sky at night is more appealing to me for some reason because whenever I look at the sky at daytime, I feel like it's so dull and boring. It's just a blue sky with a bunch of white clouds on them, whereas for the sky at nighttime, it's very dark, but there are also stars that highlight the whole darkness of the sky, and I love it.
Can you see the moon and stars at night where you live?
Well, I live near the city center, so there are a lot of skyscrapers and stuff, so I don't think that I can see the star very clearly. But as for the moon, I can totally see them, and it shines very bright, and I love it. And I think it's really beautiful, and there's something so romantic about looking at the moon.
Is there a good place to look at the sky where you live?
Well, Ho Chi Minh City, is full of skyscrapers, and there are houses and buildings everywhere, so it's quite tricky to find a place to look at stars. The only place that I can think of right now is the Central Park area in District 2, where which is a very vast and full of green area for you to lay on the grass and look at the star with your family or your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Now let's move on to part 2 of the test. I would like you to describe your dream home.
Describe my dream home. So, ever since I was a child, I have lived in the same old small house in the D5 area. Even though the house is packed with a lot of fond memories, I still do wish that I can reside in a more ideal home. Because I live near the city center, there are so many people and the houses are packed together. And there are people quarreling and music blasted from speakers from shameless neighbors. So I really hope that I can move to a more tranquil area. For example, like the District 2 area or something. Well, whenever people are asked about their ideal home, people would answer that, oh, I want a villa or a really big house. But that's not me. I actually find a spacious house a little bit uncomfortable. It's not that I'm scared of ghosts or anything. It's just make me very uneasy. I just want a cozy home. because now I don't have my own room, I really hope that I can have my own personal space so that I can comfortably live in. I don't want to share any my personal space with my sister, even though I really love her. And I want a very nice and big kitchen with a lot of facilities for my mom because she loves to cook, and also an office for my dad because he's a very hardworking man and he also likes to work at home. And that's it for my ideal home. Okay.
Very good, thank you. Now let's move on to part 3 of the test. In this part, I'll be asking you a few general questions related to part 2 of the test, which you have just presented. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in an old house?
Living in an old house, well, as you can imagine, you know, if you live in the same house ever since you grow up, you know, the house is full of your memories from your childhood into your teenage years. So basically there are a lot of memories of you in that house, and I guess that, you know, an old house can hold a lot of sentimental values. And actually that's the only advantage that I can give you right now in terms of like living in an old house. And as for the disadvantages, you know, one way or another, an old house will run down, and I don't think that people can have a good living standard out of that kind of accommodation.
What is the most popular type of accommodation in your hometown?
You know, I feel like mainly people still prefer to reside in their own individual house. People like to have a space for themselves, but because of, you know, the increasing population, people are forced to look for another type of accommodation, and that is apartment. And I think that, you know, especially the youth, they really opt for that kind of option because they don't have that much of a money. As you can imagine, you know, in a house you have to pay for the land also, and it can be very pricey. And as for an apartment, you can just pay for the space that you're living in, and that's it.
What are the differences between living in the city and living in the countryside?
Well, you know, the city is the place where everything is developing very fast, and I feel like, you know, because people are always busy with their own hectic schedules, people can actually ignore each other and act very cold towards each other. Whereas because of the chilled and easygoing way of life in the countryside, I guess that people treat you nicely and more warm and more welcoming. However, I gotta say that there is a very big disadvantage of living in the countryside, and that is, you know, insufficient infrastructure, and that can lead to lower quality of life.
Can you compare the past and present of cities in general?
Well, definitely the cities that we're living in right now compared to the city 50 years ago can be very different. One of the main feature that I can think of right now is that the number of people here in the cities, well, even though the, you know, city in the past is also considered very populous, there are only average like 2 million people in each city. However, for example, in Ho Chi Minh City alone, there are approximately 10 million people living in the city already. So it, you know, and that, you know, because of the increasing population, it can lead to a lot of problem, like not enough living space for people, and that's the first feature that I can think of. And the second difference is that while the green area took most of the city's territory in the past, there were a lot of green lands and parks and the playgrounds in the past, and it played a very important role in the city's environment. Whereas for today, trees are basically being cut down because of the demanding, space for buildings like schools, university, and apartment, and those are the two main differences I can think of right now.
I'm currently living in Saigon, or people would call it Ho Chi Minh City, but I prefer Saigon because it's kind of reminiscent of the past, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. So is that your hometown, or is your hometown a different place?
It's my hometown actually. I was born and raised here, and I actually have been living here, my whole life. I think I know that I did move to Singapore to study for a few years, and then I came back here. But my life, it doesn't feel very different from before. So yeah, I'm living here currently.
Right. What do you like about Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City?
Oh, I feel pretty fortunate to be living here because I got I got access to pretty much any amenity that you can possibly think of, right? And it's very modern. It's very convenient to live here, and um, I'm a foodie as well. So like I love eating. So I have a passion for eating, trying different cuisines, and Saigon, particularly Saigon, has a variety of cuisines, and I can try as many kinds of food that I can think of.
Has that city changed over the years?
Over the years, you mean over the last 10 years?
Over the last 10 years, 15 years, yeah.
I didn't really, pay attention, but the most striking change is probably the fact that it has gotten more polluted and hotter, so much hotter than before. I think it's the same situation for a lot of mega cities that are growing. But Saigon definitely has a lot more residential, areas, apartment complexes and skyscrapers. So I think that's it's kind of a nice thing to have, but at the same time, the infrastructure cannot really accommodate that many people, and
Right.
I think it's a good and bad thing, and also it's getting more polluted over time because of the volume of traffic on the road as well. So I really hope that in the future something should be done about the congestion issue over here. So that would definitely help with the air pollution problem as well.
Right. So what do you do at the weekends?
Well, I don't know if people know this fact about me, but I'm self-employed. I don't work for other people, so I don't have really clear boundaries between like a weekday and a weekend. But I try my best to schedule some downtime on the weekend to hang out with friends, catch up with them, grab a coffee together because I love coffee. So yeah, of course we all need to relax sometime, right? So that's what I tend to do on the weekends. But if work calls for it, I sometimes I would have to spend the whole weekend just working on my deadlines. So yeah.
What about last weekend? What did you do last weekend?
Let me try to remember. Well, it was like just a typical. It was just a typical weekend, like any other weekend. So I think I started my day with how do I say this? So I started my day by finishing some of the tasks that on my to-do list, and then I just grabbed a coffee with my best friend, and just took it easy, spent some quality time with him.
Right.
So that's what I did, I think.
What about how do they spend the weekends typically?
Oh, people in my hometown, like people in Saigon. As far as I know, I think Vietnamese people are really big on, spending time at cafes and drinking coffee in the morning, especially on Saturdays and Sundays, with either their family or friends, and I'm no exception. What else do they do? Well, a lot of youngsters and even older generations, they hang out at the mall as well. Because Vietnam, Saigon in particular is so warm, so people tend to seek refuge in those malls that are air conditioned, and do a bit of window shopping or drink tea, coffee, or have lunch in those malls.
Nice.
I think that's a lot of people. That's what a lot of people do here in Vietnam. Yeah.
Nice. And have you got any plans for next weekend?
Next weekend, I don't know if it's going to be very different from this weekend, but most likely I'm going to be doing the same stuff I do this week. But considering the fact that I'm kind of up to my neck at the moment in deadlines, I think I'm going to spend my next weekend working on my deadlines before I can think of taking any time off.
Right. You're a busy man. Tell me a bit about the kind of clothes people wear there.
Do we wear in Vietnam? It depends on what occasion we're talking about, right? So I don't know if I have a translation for all the traditional costumes that we wear, but normally when we go out on a normal day, probably I see people wear jeans, t-shirts, shirts, just the usual that you would see on the street.
So when do people wear the traditional kind of clothes?
Oh, like áo dài. I think you've heard of this term, right?
Yeah.
One situation I can think of is when like female students, they have to put on áo dài during the first day during Monday, on each Monday of the week. So I think because they have to, it's sort of the rule, the regulation in a lot of the schools in Vietnam for females to put on áo dài. But it's sort of unfair because like the guys, the male students, they wear the same uniform, right? And I have no idea why. And I see people wear áo dài when during Tet or some bigger festivals in Vietnam, because that's time for them to take photos and just show off on social media. So looking traditional, I think attracts a lot of attention.
Yeah. And do you think it's a good idea to have a obligatory school uniform for school children?
Oh, school children. I suppose that would be a good idea because you would need to be able to identify who is a student at your school. So I think having requiring students to wear uniform would do the trick. And also to create a sense of community, if you're wearing uniform, you feel a sense of belonging to that community. And especially if you come from a really prestigious school, you would want to feel like you belong there and you would want to show that to the whole world. So I think wearing uniform, it has a few advantages.
Right. Should adults be forced to wear uniforms in the workplace?
This is kind of interesting, but I feel like it shouldn't be made mandatory because, for example, if we're talking about front desk workers like a bank teller, right? If you're serving customers, you have to meet with customers on a daily basis, then sure. I think wearing uniform is advisable because you would want to project this air of professionalism to clients in order to build trust with them, right? So wearing uniform for those staff is kind of essential and expected. But if you're working in the back office, you're in charge of just the business operations side. I think your productivity doesn't really depend on looking professional. So I don't think that those staff should be made to wear uniform, because I don't think it serves any function.
Right. Do you agree with this idea that you can judge a person by the clothes that they wear?
People usually say, don't judge a book by its cover. And I think there's some validity to it, but it's not always accurate, because, in society, we tend to judge people quickly by the clothes that they put on. And I feel like it depends on the profession as well. For example, if you're a salesperson, you need to kind of make a good impression with your client, because there's no other cues for them to judge you, whether you are successful, whether you are trustworthy. So looking presentable and professional and smart is essential in this case, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are successful, or you have you earn a very lucrative income by looking smart and looking, dressed in a blazer. It doesn't equate with that, right? But for other mega rich people like Mark Zuckerberg, he's always dressed in like simple and plain clothes, and he's one of the the most affluent individuals on earth. So I think that it's not an accurate metric. Clothes are not an accurate metric to measure a person's worth.
Yeah.